How to adopt a child. There are several ways on how to adopt a child. This article will give you 3 options to explore. You can choose to adopt from overseas with an agency, adopt within the country through an agency, or adopt independently. In all cases, there are steps that the government must take to ensure that the child's welfare and legal rights are protected. You will need to undergo some common steps, no matter what option to take. One option is not necessarily better or easier than the others. Your choice would greatly depend on the child you would want to add to your family. In all cases, make sure that the people you are dealing with are licensed to provide the service you need, and that they have extensive experience in adoption procedures. Ask other adoptive parents for referrals. Make inquiries at the Attorney General's office regarding complaints against the agency or people you're working with. Cooperate with the social worker assigned to your case. File and fill out the paperwork required. Be prepared for substantial financial outlay, because adoption, just like giving birth, doesn't come cheap. Be sure you know and comply with all the requirements for adoption, both in your state and/or country, and the state and/or country the child is coming from. If you adopt from outside your state, you need to be informed about the Interstate Compact on the placement of children. 1. Overseas adoption. Say, for example, you visited an orphanage while on a tour abroad, and your heart was caught in a baby's fist curled around your finger. You want to take her home and raise her as your own. It's not as easy as buying her plane tickets. Get all the details you can from the orphanage, name and address, contact information of the organization, and several people, not just one, and the name, date of birth, and other pertinent information about the baby. Inquire about adoption procedures, but make it clear you're only asking. You don't want any unnecessary fuss if you change your mind later on. If you have time, you can visit the embassy and make initial inquiries. If there's any preliminary paperwork you can accomplish while you're there, do it if you have the time. But do not pay anyone anything, especially if they promise to make the process easy for you. It might only get you entangled in illegal activities that could make adoption more difficult in the long run. In any event, don't make impulsive decisions. Wait at least until you get back home and get in touch with an agency that deals with overseas adoption, especially one that has had lots of experience with adoptions from the baby's country of origin. You will need to undergo the process outlined here. With overseas adoption, you could also be up for a long wait, which could sometimes take 3 years. You can find additional information and much-needed support from the Adoptive Families of America. 2. In-country adoption. If you don't have a specific country in mind and are open to adopting a child from within the country, you still have a wide range of options to choose from, according to ethnicity, age, and whether or not you are willing to adopt a child with special needs. Your choice will help determine which agency to work with. You may go with a private or public agency. The former costs more than the latter. After following the procedures outlined above, you will undergo a home study during which you will be assessed for your capability to adopt. This could take several months. Some states require that a child stay with you for 6 months before the adoption is finalized. It is best if you retain an attorney to ensure that all legalities are covered to protect both you and the child. 3. Independent adoption. You may choose not to go through an agency, especially if you have gone through adoption before and are quite familiar with the process. Independent adoption is also feasible if you know a woman who wants to put up her child for adoption. Be prepared to shoulder the cost of the mother's medical bills and other expenses related to her pregnancy, sometimes including her living expenses, on top of the legal, counseling, and adoption expenses. It is best if you can include counseling for the mother to help ensure that she is psychologically prepared, and separate legal assistance for her and for you. You need to clearly define what sort of relationship may be acceptable for her to have with the child in the future and establish boundaries. Nowadays, adoption is quite a common way to address a couple's desire to have a child, and more people are opting for adoption not only to add to their family, but also for purely altruistic reasons. It's done with the intention to give a disadvantaged child a good home, a better future, a loving, nurturing upbringing. For this reason, adoption is a useful way for people to help others, one child at a time. This is how to adopt a child.